Welcome back to Creating Cooperative Kids. I'm your host, Bill Corbett. If you're just joining us, regular viewers of this show know that I use this last segment to answer viewer questions that come into my email box. Now, to send me your parenting questions, simply send an email to questions@cooperativekids.com, and perhaps I'll select your question in a future episode. I've invited back a few of my guests from today's earlier segments who you'll meet in just a moment, but first, let me get to today's viewer question. This parent writes, "It's a nightmare taking my 4-year-old with me to the grocery store. She won't stay in the carriage and she screams for candy and toys. A few times she even ran off on me, laughing as I chased her. What advice do you have for me?" Well, the important thing to remember when you're dealing with a terrific two, first of all, they don't care about your shopping trip. They don't care about the store, and they certainly have no knowledge of commerce, which means they don't care that you have to buy something because they have no idea where money comes from. But all they see is these things on the shelf, and they don't get it why I can't just pick it up and put it into the carriage. They're watching everyone else take stuff off the shelf and put it in their carriage. The most successful parent will first see a situation from their child's perspective. So, bottom line, rule number one, get a sitter if you're going shopping, if you don't like that experience, because grocery stores weren't made for children. Now, the other thing you want to keep in mind also is that we can't always get a sitter in realistic terms. Sometimes we have to take our kids with us. So there's some things that we can do to set ourselves up for success when we are out and doing shopping with our children. One of the things that I always suggest is make sure you go at a time when the child is not tired, because when she's overtired, that you're more likely to get the triggers going that's going to make her freak out and throw her tantrums. The other thing that you can do is set things up in advance. And that means what I used to like to do with my grandchildren is I would take my granddaughter out of her car seat and set her on the ground and get on my knees so that you're at the child's eye level, and I'd very quietly, friendly, in a fun way say, "We're going into the store and you get to pick. You can ride on Grandpa's shoulders or you can ride in the carriage. You get to pick." Because remember, they love to choose. They love to be powerful over you and pick. Now, a lot of times what they'll do is they'll pick one, and then my granddaughter did the same thing. She said, "I want to ride on your shoulders, Grandpa." And I said, "Excellent, yes." And I said, "But what happens if you get off? What happens if you want to get off?" And then she said, "Buy me an ice cream?" And I said, "No, I'm not willing to buy you an ice cream, but I think we'll have to go home. If you want to get down, then it's time for us to leave." And then she said, "Okay." But within 10 minutes, the first couple of times that I had done this, she's suddenly getting antsy and she wants to get down. And she says, "Grandpa, get me down." And as soon as I couldn't tolerate her shifting on my shoulders anymore, it was time for her to take her down and to go home. And on the way home, I didn't say anything, although I wanted to say a lot of things, because now my trip is ruined. So to parents, what I usually say is, remember, stores weren't made for little children. If you do have to go with them, see if you can get some agreement up front. And it may take a couple of times for you to actually follow through and implement the consequence. And that way they will learn, if I get down or if I get out of the carriage, then we're going to have to go home, because they do like shopping trips with you. Now, a lot of parents say to me, "Hold on, that's not fair. That's not fair to me. I got a shopping trip to do here. I got stuff to get." And I said, "You know what? Great. You want to have a perfect life, or you're raising children? You can't have both." Sometimes we need to be a little flexible and be patient with our children. So that's some of the things that I would suggest. Now, I would like to offer this up to my panel. My panel is made up of some of the presenters from earlier in the show, and as each of them may have a comment, your credentials and who you are will appear on the camera underneath your image so that we can save time in introducing. But what do you think? I'll toss it to you. What do you think? Anybody have a comment about that situation?
Well, my first comment would be that parents have to remember that they are the parents and their kids are the kids. And it's a hard job. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And when you make your rules, you have to follow through. So if you say, this is what you're going to do in the store, follow through. Too many parents give in so many times because they really want their kids to like them. And it's only because I have so many gray hairs that I can now look at parents and say, it's okay. They don't have to like you all the time. They will love you and respect you. And that's really the premise. Remember that you're the parent all the time, or else you're going to drown.
Yes.
And remember that you're the prize. Because when, you know, the reason why kids act up oftentimes is because they feel like you're not paying enough attention to them. So in a grocery store, I've had this happen to me a number of times. We are busy picking out groceries and comparing prices and doing whatever. The child gets bored. They want to be the center of attention. So we can say, if you give me 5 more minutes or 10 more minutes, we'll do such and such when we get home. And that's the prize. That's really what they want. So rewarding them with some time with yourself. You'll read to them or, you know, something else.
And what you just said is very important. The reward should be the experience, not an object. A lot of parents are likely to buy ice creams or books or toys, but it's great to let them look forward to something that the reward is an experience between parent and child.
I have 2 suggestions. The first is you want to also engage the child in the grocery store experience by distracting the child, keeping the child busy. For example, have the child hold your shopping list. Have the child count how many oranges there are, you know, in your basket. Have them pick out all the things that are white, you know, in the grocery store. Have them find the numbers of the aisles hanging. So there's all kinds of things that we can do in terms of letter recognition, number recognition, color recognition, where we're engaging them in the grocery experience, in the shopping experience. The other thing is positive parenting praise, which I think is very, very important. Don't wait until the child erupts to focus, you know, that positive attention, negative attention business. When you see that the child is holding it together, whether it's the first few minutes of the grocery, stop and say, Billy, you're doing a great job sitting in the shopping cart. And this really, first of all, is telling the child the skill that he has acquired, which I'm able to sit in the shopping cart, and also is giving the child the message that my mom or my dad is noticing what I'm doing, and that makes me feel good. It fosters my self-esteem.
So very interesting points, and what I liked what you said is, and you've all kind of cued in on, is that, you know, a lot of we'll give this advice to parents and they'll go, oh yeah, you tried doing that kind of thing when you've been at work all day. Well, that's when I'm going to say, well, you need to go to Karen because you need some life coaching opportunities to get your life in order, because if you're so stressed out that you can't think of these creative things, then maybe you need some more work. And I understand. I was there. I did that. And it's so important for parents to take care of themselves so they can come up with these creative ideas, so they can stop for a minute and think. And it's also important for them to be able to own up and say, I don't know what to do, and to reach out to experts like you and like me for help, and not feel like they have to know what to do. Listen, this has been great. I invited the right people back for this segment. I really appreciate it. You gave us some great advice, and I hope parents are really listening and tuning in on walking away with some things that's going to make them awesome parents.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now that you know how to have more success at getting your shopping done, let me recap what else we learned in today's show. I offered some tips on how to handle power struggles, and we have a new understanding of what goes on in a Montessori school. We also learned how to make the most of reading aloud to our children and getting them ready for reading. We finally get some new strategies on raising polar opposite kids. Join me for future episodes of this program as I offer more tools to help you rebuild your discipline toolbox as an awesome parent or teacher. Now, if you'd like to get this program in your local viewing area, contact my office to find out how. See, making the world a better place to live begins at home as engaged, encouraged, and masterful parents. I'm Bill Corbett, and I'll see you the next time on Creating Cooperative Kids.
I'll go to sleep with the lights off tonight, even though I'm scared of the dark. I can lick that thing under my bed with one hand. I know I can. In my sometimes.